Late last week, the Keystone Pipeline leaked 210,000 gallons of oil. And now, according to some reports, it may actually be worse than what was originally reported. Now, part of the reason for these leaks is human error. A report from the Canadian press in January of this year stated that figures compiled by the National Energy Board show that in the past 3 years, incorrect operation, which covers everything from failing to follow procedures to using equipment improperly, has caused an average of 20 leaks per year. That's up from an average of 4 annually in the previous 6 years. But it's not just human error. In fact, a lot of the problems that lead to these leaks are intentionally overlooked. Greg Palast, a well-known and respected investigative reporter, looked into the issue of pipeline leaks back in 2012 and discovered an issue with something called the PIG. Federal law requires the oil and gas industry to run a PIG, a pipeline inspection gauge, through big oil and gas pipelines. The robot porker, tethered to a GPS, beeps and boops as it rolls through, electronically squealing when it finds dangers. But whistleblowers told us at Channel 4 Dispatches, the 60 Minutes of Britain, that the software is deliberately calibrated to ignore or minimize deadly problems. They know because they themselves worked on the software design team. So this pipeline inspection gauge, or the PIG as it's called, is supposed to detect cracks and other issues with the pipeline before a leak can occur, but it has a serious flaw. The flaw, which is known to the industry but concealed from regulators, allows cracks, leaks, and corrosion to go undetected, and that saves the industry billions of dollars in pipe replacements. When the software team found the life-threatening flaw in the program, they immediately created a software patch to fix it, but then their supervisor ordered them to bury the fix and conceal the problem. With the PIG calibrated to the danger sensitivity required by law, oil and gas companies would have to dig up, inspect, and replace pipe at the cost of millions per mile. And that's not what the oil companies wanted from their contractor that designed the PIG program. Okay, so these oil and gas companies are required by law to have this PIG inspect their pipelines. But because the pipeline contractor is being paid by the oil and gas companies, they're really only under the watchful eye of these oil and gas companies. So the PIG is intentionally designed to overlook issues with pipelines so that these companies don't have to shell out the money to replace pipelines that may burst. The oil and gas companies rather just fix an issue once a spill has occurred, saving themselves millions of dollars. Now, why haven't we heard more about this? The programmer's bosses took no chances. We had to sign non-disclosure agreements. They were required to conceal any problems of this sort or the nature of the software we worked. It could not be made public at all, under the threat of lawsuit, and they obtained independent confirmation from 3 software engineers who designed the PIG warning system. So, all the credit of this reporting goes to Greg Palast, who uncovered this issue. And really, this issue comes down to the same root cause that most issues come down to, and that's money and greed. And that's why we have regulations. But even in this case, when the industry is regulated, and this PIG is supposed to be doing its job and detecting issues with pipelines, because of the private relationship between the contractor and the oil and gas companies, the PIG is able to be designed in a way that overlooks many of the issues with their pipelines, allowing these oil and gas companies to prevent themselves from having to replace pipelines before any actual serious problems occur. So, I don't know how we get away from money and greed, but the least we can do is move away from fossil fuels and move towards renewable energies.